right, so for those who are here for the first time, our purpose is to help advance augmented reality. And we do it by bringing together the best talent in New York, that's you guys, but the best that they are from all over the world. And actually, we just attached sort of a welcome kit to the Meetup page, so you can find, for those who are for the first time here, they can learn a bit more about the background and what we're trying to do and so on. This is really our 4th year, and we just crossed 1,300 members, so we're the largest AR meetup in the world, and I think also the long-lasting one. But it's really not about the quantity, it's about the quality. And what we liked about this group is that we have people from all walks of life. We have developers, engineers, students, professors. We have entrepreneurs, lawyers, police officers, you name it. So that's really what makes this team so unique and or group so unique. And the discussion before and after are really what we're all about. So we have a fantastic, before that, how many of you are here for the first time? Nice, so thank you all for coming, and we hope you enjoyed it. We have a really amazing program tonight. Let's take a look. So we have 4 speakers from New York-based startups. So I think that really shows how the community here is thriving with augmented reality development. And we're going to, actually our first speaker is not here, so we have an amazing replacement. But before that, I want to thank our host, New York University-Poly. And Mark, you want to say a few words about location? So first, thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming out. Really appreciate you making the effort to come out to Brooklyn. I think it's going to be an exciting night. Laurie always does well. I teach at the IDM department, integrated digital media. I teach 3D 1, 2, and 3, and I also teach the augmented reality grad class here. So I'd like to show us our new project that we've been working on. Thank you very much, Austin.
Thank you. Housekeeping notes, restroom is all the way to the left and another left. You go across the door and then you find it. And now it's time to get started. So our first speaker is actually going to be Vivian, which has been presenting at ARNY a couple of times before, various products that she's been working on. And what we really like about Vivian's company, which is, after a few years where you had mostly technology-oriented companies, her company is actually coming to it from a marketing and advertising perspective. So we're starting to see a lot of companies coming from the verticalism as opposed to coming from the technology side. That's really showing the maturity of this whole industry. And without further ado, let's welcome Vivian.
Thanks, hi everyone. I have to hold this.
Oh, you can put it on this.
Okay, well, whatever. All right, and I put my password in. It's a lot of help. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be back. And I think that was a lovely introduction. But 2, it is interesting to see sort of where AR is going. So just a little bit of background and sort of why I got into AR is I was an architect originally, and then I started a digital agency, worked with a lot of brands, and I felt like there was going to be an opportunity for them to move into the mobile space in a way that didn't really exist through things like Instagram or Twitter or Foursquare, and I really wanted to create sort of a compelling, visually driven experience, and so set out to do that with Gold Run. Gold Run's now evolved into Snaps. So our new name is Snaps, and we're in iOS and Android. And so just really quickly, I'll show you what we are and then just do a really fast demo with the audience. So essentially, we let fans of a brand express themselves creatively through creating user-generated advertising with that brand. So what that means, just to give you an example, is we worked with Sony for the launch of the Smurf film. So kids who love that film could actually pose virtually with a Smurf. And one of the things that was interesting to see was how quickly kids understood virtual content. You show them one photograph and immediately they ham it up to the camera and start understanding how to interact with an object that's not there, which is pretty wild to see that happen. And so this is just sort of like the ecosystem is that we have content, brands work with us to put content onto snaps, and then there's a fan of that brand. They take photos of a particular product, celebrity, basically anything. I mean, we worked in sports vertical, in entertainment space, in retail, CPG, and they're creating essentially really personal, authentic ads for the brand. And what's exciting is that these do not feel like ads. They feel like photos that have content in them that are really valuable to the brands, actually provide the brand the ability to monetize photos for really the first time. And then they're shared on any social network, so we're sort of platform agnostic. And then the brands can curate the best photos, create photo albums with them, contests, anything they would like, but use them as secondary marketing collateral. And this is just our user flow. So you take a photo with a piece of content. The brand can default the social copy, so there can be a particular hashtag or Twitter handle associated with it. We can embed any watermark, logo, launch date of a film or a TV show or product release into the photo, which we call out just in that third image. Someone shares it on, say, Facebook. Their friends see it. It's not a siloed, awful Facebook ad. It's actually something that you would pay attention to because your friends took the photo. And then we can now link out to commerce opportunities, which is something that the brands we are working with we're really interested in. These are some of our clients, and this is just some of the stuff that we're going to be releasing really soon in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So on the left, we're going to have in-app photo streams. You can see all the photos that people are taking in the app, which is something that people were requesting a lot. And you can also follow friends, you can follow brands, you can follow films, you can follow athletes, so on and so forth. You can customize the image more. You can, the buy now option we've already integrated, and then the featured brand pages we've integrated as well. So with that, unless there's any questions, I was just going to do a quick demo.
Yeah, we'll do the questions.
Oh, sorry. Okay, never mind. I'm not no more questions. So one second, I'm going to put this microphone down. Or I So while I'm doing the demo, for those of you who have phones, I would ask you to download snaps and do the demo with me, if you're so willing. So it's SNAPS, and it's in Google Play and on iOS. I don't know what the download speeds are like in here, but let's see if this works. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's okay. So I don't know for those of you downloading the app, but anyway, so this is what we call a featured carousel. So there are brands in there, like we work with Warner Brothers for The Hobbit, and then there's all sorts of things for Easter, and so sometimes it could be a product that you're taking a photo with. Sometimes, like in the case of the cruise, it's actually, here, I'll show this. It would actually be a picture frame, so I can take a photo of. Sorry, I moved the camera too soon. So, and then if you go into the campaign view, you can see all the different content. And one of the one of the things that's been interesting is being able to respond to things that are sort of in the news right now. So one thing we did, which I'll get to, is this, which you probably saw all over Facebook yesterday for marriage equality. And so what's pretty cool is that I can, well, one, I could in theory take a photo of myself, but I don't want to do that. But I could go into my camera library and here. Well, let me try to find a not totally ridiculous photo. A lot of these photos are a little silly. Okay, so that's another photo with Snap Spun with animal heads. But so I could actually adjust this on the fly and make. Does everyone know what I'm talking about with Facebook and these red? Okay, I just want to make sure that people don't know. Totally strange here making red squares. So it's like an instant way for people to show support, say for marriage equality, and make an image on the fly, and then I can take a photo. I can edit it. I'm not going to do that right now. And then there's the defaulted social copy up, and then I could post it, say on Twitter or Facebook or wherever I wanted to post it. And so, oh, sorry, I'm going to take that. Anyway, so that's just shows you quickly how we can do stuff for brands, but also for social causes, or really anything we want. So with that, I'm done. And any questions?
All right, thanks very much. Now it's time for a question, and while you address those questions, we'll select the next speaker.
Okay, there you go. Okay, all right. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So how does a brand request an augmented scene? And what's the process behind explaining to them how they explain to their audience how to use it?
Sure, that's a great question. So basically brands call us when they have a campaign that they want to launch in sort of mobile social ecosystem. And essentially it's a call to action engagement through their Facebook brand page, right? So they realize that a like or a comment on Facebook is not that valuable. And so a call to action where people are going and taking, spending 20 minutes and taking photos with their friends and actually interacting with the brand and creating content is, so generally they call us or they email us through our website, whatever, and they just send us some assets and the social copy they want, and then we turn it live. And usually they reach out to their, the last few years have been all the brands sort of aggregating their millions of fans on Facebook, so they're just reaching out, they're posting a photo and saying, you can make your version of this, download the free Snaps app here, and there's a Bitly link, and that's really how it works. And then every photo hits our content management system, we track it, the brand co-owns it, they can use it as secondary marketing collateral.
Is that something that the audience agrees to when
Yes,
they
it's
upload
in
it?
the terms of use, yeah.
Hey, what are your KPIs or key performance indicators or effectiveness metrics that you would share with the brand manager?
A number of things. One, we're sharing with them the breakdown between iOS and Android users. We're showing them the number of photos shared. We're showing them what share channels the photos are being shared on. We're showing them the long data of the photos. We're giving them all the data behind the users through Facebook. It's quite a lot. We're also giving them all the content. So, on one hand, on the front end, they're getting all of the content, which is incredibly valuable, and then on the back end, they're getting data and analytics. And ultimately, they're monetizing photos in a way that they can't do with, like, Instagram, for instance. So, a lot of brands are coming to us, like, frustrated with doing Instagram campaigns because it doesn't really have trackable ROI for them. In the same way, it doesn't generate content that's, advertising. Yes?
How big a shop are you, and can you talk about when you're making the argument on the argument with the buyer?
Wait, sorry, the last part I couldn't hear.
How do you explain the media mix? If you're talking about this as a replacement for Instagram, and you're making the argument for
Well, not a replacement for Instagram. It's just that for Instagram is fantastic for what it is, but for a lot of the brands and ad agencies and film studios and sports teams, like it's not it's not a sort of new advertising medium.
No, but I'm saying when you're talking to a buyer and you're looking for actual investment and you're pointing towards return, how do you actually, I guess, what part of the mix do you try to play in? What part of the spectrum of the buy do you
It depends on who we're talking to. It depends on if we're talking to a brand or an agency or a sports team or a film studio. It could be anyone from the CMO at, Fox Studios that we dealt with to it could be, someone who's running digital and social at an agency. So it really, the buyer depends.
So you're not really playing it varies from client to client. There isn't a particular place you're making an argument.
No, at this point in time, the sort of mobile social spend is still somewhat bifurcated within the landscape, but it's radically shifting. I mean, Kraft just pushed 10% of their overall marketing spend to mobile, so it's going in that direction in a really substantial way.
How big a business are you? How many people?
I mean, how many people?
Yeah.
We're 14 people.
Are you hiring or anything like that?
We are definitely hiring, so
What
if
are you
anyone in the
looking
audience wants a job, yes, we are hiring.
On that positive note, we'll end up. All right, so we're up for our next speaker, which is actually our host, Mark. Mark has been showing some crazy, amazing stuff in the past, like Occupy AR. Remember that? Yeah. It was pretty great. And today we're going to see some more crazy stuff. Without further ado, give it up for Mark Square.
Thank you, Mr. Mark. So what I'd like to show you today, again, this is coming out of our 3D grad class, and what we've done here today is we've made an app which you can make anything, pretty much anywhere you want. So there's actually, this is the website for the app, it's called Creatar, and there's tutorial videos on here you can see. And I actually just had a one-man show in Brooklyn for this project, and I was doing performances while I was there. And I'm creating all this content on site, so I'm not loading these augments off-site through some sort of interface. I'm doing this on site. I'm typing in what I want, and then it's appearing in front of me. So you're seeing a small cross section of what happened during the performance. So this is all inside the gallery. Some stuff here, and then here's the documentation page. So you get an idea sort of what's happening. Just kind of changing the content up. And the other thing to keep in mind too when you're looking at this, everything is animated. So the water is all flowing, the mouth is opening and closing. And then these are actually tidal waves. The tidal waves were sweeping across the gallery, and I had someone performing who was playing music with a saxophone in the corner. It was very brave with conditions. So yeah, this is some of the stuff we made, or I made while I was there. This is above the ARNY show. So we have King Ghidorah above the ARNY show. These are the placeholders, so you can see these little Godzillas are placeholders where the augments will load in the future. And then there's Godzilla from the ARNY show. He's walking towards the ARNY show. I was getting my boat dialed in for the show. And this is outside of the gallery in the street. There's a lot of glitch involved. So without further ado, I'd like to, we're going to switch it over and see if we can generate some stuff on the fly here. Okay, so 1 second. Sure. So basically what's happening is there's two types of content the piece is grabbing. One of the first types is we have a database, pre-made database. Some of it is 2D objects, some of it is 3D objects. I'd say we have a few thousand objects in our database right now, so if you call the most commonly requested objects, we keep collecting them, just adding them to the database. And we can see right now, we've got some stuff in the room with us. I made the Parthenon. There's a fire over there in the background. The GPS is a little off. I made a box. And then there's a giant peach over here. That's is there anything else? Oh. Ah, look, I made Ori. So I wasn't proving to make anything. This was, well, she was presenting. I got Ori with money. I didn't know where you were. So, okay, let's edit some stuff very quickly here. So what I'll do is, what do we do? Let's get rid of the box. So I can click on the box here like this, and then it brings up the edit function. So here comes our interface, and so we can do a lot of stuff. The interface is crude. We're like in a beta phase right now. We're just getting it rolling. We're actually developing our own app, so we're going to move from layer to our own thing. So I will delete this. Go, let's see if it goes. Where's the box? The box. It's gone. The box is gone. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll add something to our scene. If I was to load it, it would bring up the create page, but we have to go through a slightly convoluted process. So this is a create page. I can type in whatever I want. I'll make a pink elephant. I'm going to drink too much coffee. And let's go create. Here we go. I'm going to go to camera view and it's here somewhere. Yeah, you got the little part. So if I can't find the elephant, what I would do at this point would be I could go to the list. I'll go find the pink elephant. There it is. I'm going to edit the pink elephant. And let's make it a little bigger. I'm going to make it quite a bit bigger, so just so we can see it quickly here. I'm going to make it bigger. And go back to the camera view. And refresh. Again, it's in sort of a testing page right now, but I think the elephant is behind the fire. I'm going to kill the fire. Sorry. Okay, so the fire's gone. I'll just start clearing out the space. All right. Okay, and then I'll put the parts in that off. You should be able to see that. There your elephant is. Okay, we got the elephant. Now I can do is I can edit, and then I'll move it up. So I'll move it up in the space. I'll have to start moving it in the direction, but now if you look, I moved it up. A little bit of a load time on this one. It's here. I assure you it is here and it's above us somewhere. It'll take my word for it. I'll be behind the word. So I don't want to run too long, but let's just kind of kill it with this one. Here it is. Okay, so he did move up a little bit. There you are. He's kind of going up there. And I can move him in any direction, so I can edit on site. I can start to move the content around. Other things that we're doing with this app, you can upload your own content on site. It's as easy as attaching an email to a file to your email. So if I want to upload content, I can do it from your house, from anywhere. You give it a name, and then I can call it up anywhere I am. So I can go outside, I type in the name of the content that I uploaded, and my content appears on site. I'm working with a number of artists, and they love it because very little work on their part, and then they're able to show their work anywhere to any kind of collectors, curators, with ease, just wherever you want. I don't have to set the augment up, you don't have to meet there. And yeah, a lot of possibility. So we're going to have multiple choices of what you can select in the future. So that's it.
Questions for Mark?
Yes.
Are these augments shared with other people? Or
yes. Okay, so that's interesting. Good question. We're all sharing the same world right now. Okay, so we're all sharing the same virtual world. Anyone can delete your content that you add to the space, and you can delete any other people's content. You can add to their content. You can edit their content. We actually have animation done now, so I can start animating these objects. It's not in the interface, but it works. So I can start telling the elephant to charge from one side to the other. What else have we done? Just trying to think. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
you have to be near enough to the object in order to alter it or to remove it? I mean, how, in other words, if I'm you know, in another part of town, that might cluster of objects.
I have an answer for you. I was actually at Augmented Manhattan about 3 days ago, and we turned the range up. I could see into New Jersey. I was looking at augments where one of and one thing that's very important to note in this project is I'm the lead on the project, and then the lead programmer's name is Anna Meshayan, so it's important to acknowledge that as well. Yeah, so the range, we can adjust it. You can put stuff further away from you. We have to keep the range a little bit close. There's a danger of erasing other people's work, which is a few miles away, where they're starting to kind of build something up. We are going to start making user accounts. So you can have your own user account. You can choose who can share and edit your content. So you can have permissions on what you create. It's going in that direction.
How is it that you can erase someone's content that's in New Jersey?
I just click on it if I can see it. It's
If you
visible.
can see it, you can.
There's also the list. When I hit the list, you can see all the objects that were in my scene. I can edit from the list as well. So if you can't get it if there's a transparency and I'm clicking through something, I go to the list and I can start to edit directly from there. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
Is this one popular?
Yeah. No, it's not a problem.
Small question related to database. Are you pulling this to the images of the videos as in the cloud or the iPhone itself?
On the cloud. We actually have our
So
own.
it's centralized. Everybody can edit. Everybody can play with it.
That's not an accurate answer. So it actually goes in two parts. We have a database full of our own content. If it can't match one of our searches, the content that's in the database, like Ori, he was not in the database. It does a Google image search. It'll scrape online. We're working on getting a Google 3D warehouse so it can just grab objects from there as well. Yeah.
And it uses GPS to localize the objects.
Yeah.
Do you use any like if you're in Wi-Fi, will the object become more stable in their location, or is it primarily just?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Again, we're in sort of data testing project right now, and we have it's like everything is animated in the scene. Everything doesn't really stick the way it should. We're getting it up and running. It's one of the first projects since worked on for the program I'm working on. But I love it. It's like you're in, when I was doing the performance in the gallery, it was like you're at sea. They're moving. They're constantly kind of moving around, which is probably not good for the industry. We're working on it. We're very close. Cool.
All right, give it up for Mark. All right, folks. So now we've seen so far two startups, or one startup and one artist from the city. And now we're going to see another startup. I think it's kind of one of the first public appearances where Susan's going to talk about the concept and show some of these things. And what's really nice about it is it's happening here, and it's related to New York, and it's with people, developers, and engineers in New York. So I think it's all great. And let's give it up for Susan.
Okay, thank you, Lori. It's a great pleasure to be here tonight because we actually met a lot of folks who have contributed to the product in the past few weeks since we've been here. And I just want to say one of them is Lucienne Harriot, who has Mechanism Digital, and we're going to showcase some of the work. And I think this is a great opportunity to socialize and get involved with projects as they start to lift off the ground. And that's what's exciting about augmented reality, is that we are actually part of making it a reality. And part of that is coming up with business cases as well. I think the clear runner of making the analogy of or making it visual to the social environment with Snap, I think that resonates with the whole consumer base. We're actually going to target a little bit more of a serious group that have been sort of out of the digital loop, if you will, and that is we're going to target the real estate community who's been building buildings since the time immemorial, but we think that we have an opportunity with immersive mobile media to disrupt their traditional lines of business and give them some new tools, whether it be visualization tools to design and improve their development processes, or sales and marketing tools that will allow them to reach buyers, secure investment, drive community support, and also gain civic engagement and approval. So we're excited about focusing on this space. And the problem that we're going to try to solve is that when you use augmented reality, one of the exciting parts is that you can augment a structure, a 3D structure, into a particular location. So if a building hasn't yet been built and you have a 3D space, whether it's a simple 3D object that's simple polygons and a little bit of a rendering to a fully baked 3D CAD drawing, all the way down to the BIM building and information models that are really very detailed and have the sort of the constructs of the infrastructure in them. The models evolve over time, but at the earliest phase, when a developer is working with his architect and envisioning what that building will be like, it would be nice at the early stage to have something that they could go to a site and say, you know what, I really like the way that building looks in that space, or you know what, I'd like to make it higher, and to really actually engage with the building as part of that process. It's also interesting because the whole pre-construction phase of building a building can take years. And part of what is the decision maker is that in order to secure approvals from the city or get investment, you have to have 30 to 40% of the building essentially sold. So that means you're basically using smoke and mirrors. And a lot of these folks have been doing that for a really long time. They get renderings made and they're very expensive. But even before you give the go-ahead to an architect, you really do need to have a clear sense of who your clients will be. And it's a lot of vision work. So what we want to do is use augmented reality to give them a sense of how it works. And so I'm going to run this little demo here. Is that one? Yeah. Okay, and this gives you a sense of how a building will actually be placed in its actual site setting. We're working on this with a group out of Germany, in Regensburg, Germany, called DuPanic, who worked with our team before, to the 110 Stories with Brian August, who created that app. And as you can see, it is a little floaty, but it's fairly stable. It would be enough on a concept basis to let somebody understand, and you could do a 360 virtual tour looking at it in 1:1 scale. So we'll just give you a little sight. And I think the other thing that's really exciting about this is, and not to be outdone, but you can do these visual models in a room where you're kind of giving a sense of it. I think those are fun to show if you're in an office space, kind of start to give your presentations of what you'd like to do. And then the final piece here is to kind of show the use case of building a 3D model and really making it into the immersive capabilities of the tablets. And what a lot of folks haven't really pioneered, even with CAD/CAM, even with the finishes, is a lot of them have been in the online and the sort of the web world, but taking advantage of the gestures, of the gyrometers, the accelerometers, really the immersive functionality that's inherent in the tablets is a pretty exciting leap forward. Okay. And one of the things that's going to make it accessible for this community is not only is it systematically that you could change the sort of the 3D models for those exterior views. This app is intended primarily as our AR kind of tool. It's also going to allow you to make comments and socialize with it. So what we've done is combined a sort of a business application and a consumer UI. And what we think is it's going to create adoption, and also it'll allow us to have the flexibility to kind of migrate the content as the building moves along its development process. I think I just want to close and say that we are also developing a whole bunch of other tools on sales and marketing that advance the cause of using virtual reality and other aspects of interaction to kind of move through the rest of the process to sell to consumers. So in the same way we're actually helping the developers and the designers, we're also going to look to kind of give them tools that they can load into any of the app stores and sort of create much more entertainment-driven, tablet-based apps that walk people immersively through the buildings using some of the exciting movement forward with 3G models as well as 3D models, web-enabled models. All right, so one of the highlights of our signature apps are moving into the space. Because Brian actually started with 110 stories, we've kind of built and conceived, not built, but we've concepted a new app for the 9/11 Museum as well. And what's exciting about this is that the memorial pools, if you've ever gotten the chance yet to see them, are really magnificent, but they're their radius, if you will, their dimension is about 8 to 10 feet all around the perimeter to where the actual footprints of the towers were. So the towers were in that location, but they had a bigger base. And what dawned on us was that if you were standing next to the pools and looking at the panels, you would actually have been within the walls of the former towers. And that was the sort of the concept behind thinking about the towers. The other kind of driver of this concept was that when you look at the pools, they sort of look like an infinity, and they sort of go down. But what the towers were so memorable were because of their magnitude and how they soared into the sky and were such a beacon in terms of the directions. And so what we wanted to do is create a virtual tower, remodeling the towers, and creating what we call an atrium. And we're in the process of working to get sponsors with people like Google and Verizon and Intel, and we're in conversations now. And we think this kind of effect is really exciting. We also are working with a team locally called Easter Egg, who we met, well, we didn't meet them here, but we brought them here, that are actually creating similar apps to what we just saw, but they are creating the app where you can place writing or any kind of objects in a particular location using AR. And so what we're doing is having an AR app within an AR app where you're going to leave tribute messages within the walls. And we'll be able to, I don't know if this demo is going to share that, but this is the idea of what that's going to be looking like. So with that said, I'm going to back out for a second. And I'm going to jump over to this. So Lucienne really did a magnificent job in helping us concept this. So I'm going to try to roll tape on this demo so you can see what's going on again. Hold on, let me do that again. It's worth starting. Sorry about that. So you're like virtually in what would have been the former World Trade Center, which is the Twin Towers. And now you're standing right near the pools. And so you're really looking at it with your smartphone and your tablet, feeling like you're inside. And you'll be able to then turn around and write in on that tablet, that tribute. So we're excited about this. So is the 9/11 Museum. It's pretty serious. You guys like it?
Yeah.
What do you think? It's really kind of a really interesting use case. I think we have one more little last slide, which is to kind of say that we're sort of stuck in that, because we're based in Tribeca, we're kind of obsessed a little bit with the World Trade Center and the new complex because we get to watch it every day. And so one of the things that we're really excited about also is that when you go to the new One World Trade Center Observatory, what you're going to see on the 102nd floor of the observatory is that you'd be in parallel, and if you want to know all the details, you can ask Brian, but you'd be almost looking out of the observatory and seeing the former world, the former Twin Towers. And one of the questions that you all have is, like, well, where was the Twin Towers in relation to the new tower? And so we're going to address that with the app, and you'll be able to kind of imagine. So this is under development as well, using the same team doing augmented reality to reimagine the towers from that point of view for all the visitors. And one last slide is the other idea is that as they're building and finishing the One World Trade Center, there are other structures there that have yet to be built, including the beautiful new transportation hub by Santiago Calatrava. So we're excited to see if we can make that happen, and we're in discussions with the new owners of the observatory, and we'll keep you posted on our progress. Use up all my time. Okay.
So how does it work if, let's say, an architect has a model and he wants to then see that in like augmented reality? Then does he give you like a model and like some kind of file, and then you just take that file and you put that, you convert that into
Yeah. I mean, if they have, and what we're learning is it depends on what phase in the process they are in. If they've already gotten to the point where they've made some architectural plans using something like Revit, which is their typical go-to, at least in the United States, there are other similar CAD types of software. Once they've drawn it, the issue is that you have to kind of post-produce it a little bit because you have to create this model. And in a lot of cases, we're going to start to see some plugins that are going to start to allow you to do AR. Even with Sketch It at an earlier phase, you'll be able to do some level of that. And there are a lot of like inexpensive out in Asia places that are going to be able to kind of do the skins for it. So it's kind of the assembly. The most tricky part isn't even the augmenting of it, to be honest. It's really actually getting it right for mobile, which a lot of folks haven't really figured out in terms of tapping into how that sits. So there's a lot of staging to it, but once you create one model, you can kind of augment the rest. It's just kind of a little bit of a formula, hopefully. Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you have software that they can build their own model on, or do you just recommend that they import it from Reddit?
You know, it's a whole industry. I mean, we're not going to pioneer the, people have been building for a long time. There's a lot of pockets of innovation for digital that are disrupting the building industry, especially on the fabrication side. You know, there's a whole process of this BIM process that's been coming to add more information. And in some cases, these models are going to get much more sophisticated, and we're excited about that because they're going to take what you call GIS information. So that's geographic information about, lighting and sun and, the ground and the, so those models are going in and of themselves, if we didn't show up at all, they're going to get more sophisticated. What we're going to do is be able to help them augment it. So part of this, and we didn't showcase this yet, we have to have future callbacks for that, is some of the stuff that goes around it with geometry. But we're not going to take on the 3D modeling market. We're just going to augment from there.
You mentioned that you take advantage of gestures and accelerometers in Tableau. What kind of features do you, what kind of interactivity do you provide with that?
Yeah, okay. All right, so the answer is that in this aspect, in this app, there's a little bit less of that, okay? And this is one of the apps. In our second app, which is an immersion publishing app, we're working with a team out of Norway that's created this gorgeous sort of user experience and new software that we actually are bringing to the United States. And what it does is it allows you to get different information at different heights in a building. It will allow us to embrace the idea of navigating. Today, for example, there's a lot of, like the state of the art, and forgive it, is like these fisheye panoramas that you do. You take these renderings and you create a virtual model, and you like pan and zoom, and you sort of just look through the rooms. What we want to do is like a virtual reality walkthrough where you're actually literally walking through and you're using an accelerometer, and you could actually eventually, if you want, see the real view if you've taken one out the window. And so I think there's a lot of room for navigation, so to speak, on that. So that's one way where if you're walking, you could actually walk through it. That's an example.
Continue the discussion afterwards. Thanks very much. All right. Next, we have another good friend of ARNY, which has been presenting a couple times before, coming from the art perspective on things, and I'll let him talk and show what he has to show. Go ahead, Larry.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Good to see folks out at ARNY. It's always a good show. I first came to ARNY because I'd been approached by a musician friend of mine who wanted to make a film. And he had probably put out 10 albums, but couldn't get his head around how to put together the elements that actually put a film out. So looking at the elements he had, gathering footage from different locations around the world where he had gone to do performances, he ended up with a collection of moving and still images and a collection of music originally created by a lot of his friends. So what we did was we took all of those elements and we put them together into what we were calling an enhanced graphic novel. Is this mic on?
Yeah.
Okay. We put them all together into something that we were calling an enhanced graphic novel. The creative part was his. The artwork was done, the story was there, but it was my job to be able to find a way to let people know that it was out there. And searching for an economical but very effective way to market a new graphic novel, we stumbled upon augmented reality as a technology. I come from a background of growing up as a battle DJ. I grew up in the Bay Area, and the most fun for me was taking 2 records and seeing how long and how many different combinations I could make out of those beats. As I grew, I worked in music. I had the pleasure of working for people like Bill Graham, who was responsible for bringing many people together through music. I studied film in college, and my first job out of school was just a few blocks away at 40 Acres and a Mule, Spike Lee's film company. After working in music and film for so long, it was great for me to be able to find some sort of marketing platform and some sort of platform that was easily accessible where people could merge music and film and content. So what I'll show you is a bit of the evolution of how we started to market the graphic novel, how we started to show a bit more through the exercises we were doing, and then we stumbled upon a question, and something that we bring up in ARNY quite often, which is about the ecosystem that we're creating through augmented reality, and the concept of digital litter, which was something I was just speaking with Camby back there about. So let me go through some of the auras and just show you what we got. All right. The name of the story that Roz created is called The Heretic of Ether, and in it, we were in a post-cloud world where media could not be trusted in the cloud, so it all had to be liquefied. And this is the world that we enter into. So the story is called The Heretic of Ether. So this was one of the first experiments that we did. So what you see there is us doing nothing more than the call and response that you see through augmented reality and layering in a trigger image, but starting a video seamlessly so that it seems to almost analyze. When you double tap on it, take the media with you. So the idea would be that if this were on a movie poster, you could actually aim, you could get the trailer, you could double click on it, and you could watch it as you go. So as we started to do a few more experiments, we just started to see what other things we could do. As I said, we were working with raw materials, mostly still images, treated images, and motion images. So I think what you'll see here is just kind of a small looping GIF that we had that shows just one of the scenes and one of the frames from the graphic novel itself. And once again, the interaction is usually, and it's all programmable from Rasma. Double clicking will allow you to take it full screen. So we started to realize that we enjoyed the fact that we could embed the augmented reality within the graphic novel, and that allowed us to expand the story's universe a little bit more. So all of a sudden, even the pages of the novel itself will become markers and unlock more material and more content. So that got us started to thinking about how do we embed this a little bit more in the art, music, and film world. Coming from music and film, it's been interesting to see how the landscape has shifted so much with all the technological innovations that are around. So what we started to do was experiments with artists and seeing what kind of content we could create by embedding speech and music, working with different rounds of artists. So here's some examples.
by the throat the damned heathen dog, and smote him.
So, very simple experiment. It's a line from Paul Robeson reading Othello, probably 1940 recording. But what we did was I took the audio and I ran it through an animation program that allows for lip sync to audio. So that allowed for a little bit of easier transition towards making the character come to life.
That's fun.
Once upon the midnight dreary, while I pondered the weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember. It was in late December, and each separate dying ember roared its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly had I sought to borrow from my books the surcease of sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here, forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now to still the beating of my heart I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more."
So this was an experiment that I did to actually go and present to the artist. It's a group of artists that live in the Bay Area, the artists that did this work as well as this work. And I was a little nervous about presenting art to its creator that actually does something that they may or may not have intended. So it was interesting to be able to present these and watch the artist's response to them when they first saw their work come alive. And this brings us back to this kind of ecosystem that we're creating through augmented reality. I believe that through putting these tools into the hands of artists, they can create content that can continue to be updated. So for instance, this picture, if you see it, this content will always be embedded. But for an artist...
"I took by the throat the damned heathen dog, and..."
I'm sorry, it just makes me laugh. But putting it into the hands of the artist, they had a brilliant idea. They said, well, it says that today, but can I change it tomorrow? They said, yeah, you can definitely change it tomorrow. So all of a sudden, from one character, they can create an entire broadcasting network, update the content themselves, and give something different to their audience. A couple more experiments with those folks.
The source ABC. Big A, little a, what begin with A? Auntie Annie's alligator, A. Big B, little b, what begin with B? Baba, baby, bubbles, one bumblebee. Big C,
Dr. Seuss's ABCs.
What begin with C? Camel on the ceiling, C. Big D, little d. David, Donald, June, and dozen donut, and Dog 2.
Has a bit of a distance experiment that we did. We actually blew up the video thinking that the markers may not be always so close. So what we did was we actually made the video closer than it is in reality. I'll just show you really quickly.
The source ABC.
So you can see the space.
Big A, little a, and what begin with A?
You disconnected.
Oh, sorry. Basically, one of the ones that was most exciting for the artist was this one.
Yo, these are these drippers and stuff running on it. Show them that we can do this, because we always do this. Yeah! Yo, these are these drippers. Yo, Chuck, you tell these strippers to stop front on us. Show them that we can do this, cause we always do this. Yeah, boy.
Face, how low can you go? Death row? What a brother know. Once again, back is the incredible rhyme animal, the uncannibal beast. Public enemy number one.
Well, you all know the words, so. And lastly but not least, one company that I consult for is an electronic music school in New York called Dubspot. And what I was doing some experiments on how we can actually augment the campus. So this is the logo that appears on stickers that we throw all over town. So the idea would be, once you see the sticker, then you would actually get some
Chuck, you tell these strippers to stop.
updated information about the school itself.
Thing that we can do in the master process is really bring up the loudness to a commercial level. So you want to play machine loud. The Tractor Control S1 was made to have full control over the reader.
So the idea with this is to install interactive buttons at the end of the video so that folks have the option to go to the site, explore more courses, or even redeem a coupon for 10% off a class. So these are just some experiments that we've been doing, trying to figure out how we can kind of integrate AR with the existing world of music and film and media.
Any questions for Larry?
You indicated you had some sort of revelation about digital living. Can you touch base on that a little bit? What your
I started to see the first augmented reality products coming out of Europe, and those were products that weren't available on shelves in the United States. So by the time I would be able to hunt it down, find out if it was still going, it was actually off the market. So when they first started to appear in the US, I think one of the first one was Marvel Comics, but it was only at Walmart, and we don't have a Walmart here in New York. And then I think the next one was Huggies, and I don't buy Huggies. So for me, I started to realize that I understand that the industry is utilizing the technology to promote its brands, but what is its real value if the campaigns are so short-lived? If you have a 2 or 3 month campaign with a Pringles can, that's great for 2 or 3 months, but after that 2 or 3 months, if it's not supported any longer, then I think we're creating what is called augmented litter. You know, we've got content out there that's not supported and not able to be activated. So what we'd like to do is work with artists and work with filmmakers and work with musicians in order to give them a platform so that they can create extended experiences that go along with their life work.
Forgive me if I'm advertising my ignorance, but what app do you use to go through that you can look at these and animate them?
I'm using Erasma, but a lot of the apps do much the same thing. The call and response of loading a trigger image and then saying, once the viewer hits that trigger image, what do you want it to see? And it can usually be a 2D image, a 3D model, or a movie of some sort. And you're usually just limited by size constraints.
And various apps that you have all connect kind of to the same cloud, so anyone can get the same thing from it?
So for Erasma partners, what they do is they give you the option to set up different channels. So for Dubspot, the school, I set up a Dubspot channel. For the graphic novel, we set up a Dub Fiction channel. And for the artist, their collective is called Black Diamond Shining, so we set up a Black Diamond Shining channel. So that can encourage people to continue to grow those channels and put more content.
You mentioned the idea of an artist wanting to have different experiences in the same trackable, right? Now, of course, it's the artist's prerogative that they really want you not to be able to see the old stuff and only see the new stuff. But there might be some artists who would like you to see the old stuff as well. So do you have something that would let a person looking at something now and realizing, gee, I saw something a couple of months ago, it was really cool, that was associated with this, sort of roll back time and look at it, or?
Sure, it's interesting because I saw something today that was, someone was using, I believe it was Instagram as an animation flipboard. And what they did was change the view mode to slideshow mode and then flip your finger really fast so that frames flash really quickly. And what they had done was gone from a modern picture of something in time lapse back probably 3-4 months. So as you just flip, simply just image by image, you were able to go back in time. And likewise with augmented reality, we're able to look at that modern image as a trigger image and then tell the viewer to play an overlay of an older image. Now what you see is the real magic comes in the placement of it. Because if you overlay it seamlessly, you get a much better effect than if you view it and then the image comes up somewhere over here.
Okay, so, but your app, so you're looking at this in Erasmus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does Erasmus support that? So if an artist wanted to let a person look at things over time?
Well, what Erasmus supports is the ability to update your trigger images and your overlays. So let's say the same trigger image, the same icon is looked at, you as the creator can change the overlay or what plays when the viewer actually sees the trigger image as often as you want to.
If you want to
I'm
go
saying
back,
as
there's
a
no way
non-artist, as a viewer, I would like to maybe be able to look back through the things that have been put out there. So I was just wondering whether...
Oh, this particular SDK doesn't allow for that.
All right, thanks very much. Well, I mean, I really like the last part where you see the face come to life. Because, you know, with Erasmus, when most people basically just slap the video on the image, it's kind of cool for 5 seconds, but it's not really as engaging as when the actual image or the drawing or the painting comes to life itself. And the way they did it is without any coding, right? That was basically an end user type of tool that he kind of put together on his own that allowed him to animate those images. And I think that's kind of the third wave in augmented reality tools, which we're just starting to think about. Initially, you had the SDK, only programmers could use. Now you're starting to see a lot of creation tools for non-programmers, you know, Layer and Tile, and others are putting out those tools. But it still requires somebody to develop that application. And this will put it really in the hands of everybody out there. It's sort of a user-generated content, which I think, you know, think about it, a point in time where people can just go to anything out there. It could be this flag or a face or a mural or a poster and quickly animate that thing so that anybody that looks at that thing sees this animation. But the animation comes out of the world. It's not something that is, you know, as I said, slapped on it without any specific relationship. So that's very cool. All right, guys, so that was our fourth speaker. What we typically have at the last part of the event is, or the meetup, is sort of my review of the latest and greatest from around the augmented reality world. However, today we're kind of out of time, so it's going to be very short, but I still wanted to do, first of all, this. It's really the time where we do member announcements. So think if you have something to announce, you know, a project you're working on, you're looking for some support, some developers, some money, ideas, whatever, this is the time to talk about it. I have a few announcements. One is there's an AR book that came out just a few months ago by one of our own ARNYs, Joe Rampolla, which is not here today. But this book is it's called Augmented Reality, and it's a great kind of overview of what's happening out there and some of the key people and companies in the space. So if you're into it, you know, you want to learn more, that's a great book. This is kind of a pre-announcement. MetaView, which is a startup based here in New York, it's shown in the last few meetups, the new eyewear, the glasses that they're working on, which will allow you to basically see augmented reality while, you know, walking around and be able to interact with your hands with virtual objects around you by using this depth camera that is on top of the glasses. And it's a really cool thing. I think everybody liked it when they saw it here. So Meetup is actually kicking off a Kickstarter project in the next few weeks. And of course, you know, everybody here is obligated to be part of it. No, seriously, we really want to support all these Kickstarter projects focused on augmented reality, especially when it's coming out of New York. So expect more news about this in the next couple weeks. There's another cool thing happening in New York. The AR standards meeting, which is now I think in its 8th or 9th meeting, is coming to New York. And that's going to take place in late May in Columbia University, hosted by Stephen Weimer. Thank you. And of course, you know, everybody's invited. Christine Perret, which is organizing this, has basically published some information. You can find it on this link. I can show it to you later on. And there's a special promotional ticket for ARNY members, so you're lucky to be here. And right after that, there's something called workshop. Does anybody know what's a workshop? You've never been to a workshop? Me neither. I guess something that Christine invented. And it's a combination of walking around town and doing a workshop. And it's something that, of course, works very well with location-based stuff and augmented reality. So here's a quick description of what this is. A group of people will be kind of walking tour around the city to examine where the digital and physical worlds meet. Where are sensors capturing and documenting the changing physical world? How can digital information about a city be used by developers or others? And Christine has been working with several big urban areas to unlock digital information and make it available through augmented reality. So I guess a lot of that initiative is now coming to New York. So once again, ARNY members are invited to join the team actually working on this, developing this, and of course participating. And there's more information on this link, newyork.workshop.org. What else? Upcoming AR events. Augmented World Expo is coming. It's just 8 short weeks away. For those who don't know, it's the largest and some say most influential augmented reality event in the world. It takes place in Santa Clara, California, June 4th and 5th. And you can go to the site, Augmented World Expo. We have close to 100 exhibitors signed up already, and more than 100 speakers from some of the leading AR companies and research groups around the world. We expect about 1,000 people, so that's going to be the largest gathering of augmented reality professionals ever, I think. Unless, you know, one of the ESMARs was bigger than that. Steve, was it? No, never, huh? So you're all invited. If you want to learn more about this, go to the website or just ask me. And that's about it. Our next meetup in April. And now it's time for some more member announcements. So anybody has an announcement?
Go ahead. My name's Steve Bull. Next Saturday, or that would be Saturday the 6th, at Castle Clinton at 2 p.m. I'm working with public historian Kathleen Hulser. We got a grant from the New York Council for the Humanities. We're doing a project about the War of 1812, 1814, which is America's most unappreciated war. And I'll be putting 2 vessels in the Hudson River. One which is a United States revenue cutter, which is going after the Fair American, which was a ship that they boarded at that time and found British soldiers that were trying to escape to London. And they also had contraband on board it. So that will be one of the sites that we're going to have. We're using the Genio GPS, part of their browser. And we'll be resurrecting the dead at Trinity Church at the graveyard. Captain James Lawrence said, don't give up the ship. And so I'll be bringing his ghost up above his tomb, and then if you click on a ghost, you'll hear his story. We'll be floating over Wall Street some highly inflated currency of 1813. New York was in a kind of a panic. They were, the war of 1776 wasn't forgotten by everybody in the city, and people were having post-traumatic stress disorder And in order to keep people happy, the banks in New York, this is before the Federal Reserve, we're printing up inflationary dollars. So we'll have floating dollars.
What is it called? What is it called?
This is the War of 1812. It's under a blog spot. Let's see, the War of search for the War of 1812, 1814. And I have I'd love to get names. I'll put it up so that people can come see this. We'd like to get some feedback about it. I'm not resorting to 3D models. For the most part, I'm putting 2D on a 3D shape in order to be able for people to have kind of a quicker download user experience. I'm trying to find out different ways in which you can take people on these kinds of tours and make it like come alive and more fun.
That's it.
Thanks very much. Is that it?
Yeah,
That's it? Yeah.
Cool. You heard it here first.
Very good.
Anybody else?
Right, so I'll make a quick announcement. I'm Bobby. I'm the co-host of AR Dirt or AR Scientific, whatever. It's a podcast. We just released our 22nd, I think it's the 22nd episode, in which I interviewed Dima Kozlowski, who's right here, CEO of ARNY, talking about AR in the automotive industry. And we try to cover just interesting topics and various topics involving AR in different industries and different applications and things like that. So you can check it out at ardirt.com. Always love to hear any feedback or anything like that as we build it out and try to improve it and obviously get more interesting, more and more interesting people to interview and chat with. So,
Thanks, Bobby. Anybody else? No one else? All right. So again, thanks very much for coming. Feel free to stick around and have some discussion. This is typically the best part of the evening, and hope to see you next month.